Hi, so I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. This is a post right as I'm editing it. I didn't really make an intro, so this is going to be my first of the 3 parts of the year for my best albums. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to Gut Check. Let's get right into it. So, these first releases are going to be the worst things I listened to this year, and so let's jump right into it. The first absolute worst thing I listened to this year is an album called Better Than You by DaBaby and Youngboy NBA. I actually liked DaBaby like 3 years ago, before I realized how much of a fucking asshole he is. He's not a good person, and it kind of always left a really sour taste in my mouth. Youngboy NBA got really wronged by somehow agreeing to being on this. I remember listening to it and being like, wow, this is awful. And it is bad. I will say this is going to be like a really nerdy list because I'm a nerd. I listen to a lot more metal and alternative things, but I do listen to quite a bit of rap. This is not good. If you want an album to poke fun at as a metalhead or a metal fan, this is one that is very easy to roast on because there's just zero redeeming factors in it at all. The second worst album is probably going to upset some people because this band is fucking worshipped, especially on the internet. It is called The End So Far by Slipknot. Now, before you fucking type, hear me out. This band has been around for a long time, released a lot of albums, and you think they know what sounds good and what doesn't. Even after releasing this album, members of this band have came out and said that they think they could have made it better. And I agree. It is long. It is boring. As someone who got into metal from the actual metal world, I probably have a little bit of a different perspective than other people who get into the metal world through like the emo genre. So people who get into Slipknot through Sleeping with Sirens may view this even worse than I do. I got into the metal world from Iron Maiden to Suicide Silence to Asking Alexandria to Ice Nine Kills. That's kind of where I've landed. And I like everything in between all those bands. And this is bad. D-. The next band is called Like a Storm. The album is called Okana or Okuna. I've never listened to this band before, and I hope their future projects are better than this one. Very bland, very boring, very generic, very Octane Sirius XM radio core. If you like that, this will be your shit. Another D-. The next thing on this list is the EP Never Gonna Learn by Asking Alexandria. As one of my favorite bands ever, this EP is a mess. It is 2 previously released songs with 3 new ones, one of which sounds exactly like a song by Of Mice and Men on their newer stuff. It uses the same chord progression, same melodies, and they sing in the same pitch. But it has no character to it, the way that Of Mice and Men does. It's just bad. I have no other words. Danny Singh just cannot keep this band or project entertaining enough. This is a D- album or EP, whatever. The next one is going to be Honestly Nevermind by Drake. Now, Drake released 3 albums this year. I don't fucking know how. This is the worst out of the 3, in my opinion. Maybe he only released 2. I don't know. But this is the worst out of the 3. Literally only one good song, which is Jimmy No Crooks. That is a banger, one of my most played songs of the year, and one of my actual best songs of the year. But there's like 15 fucking songs in this, and it's just so boring. All the other songs become an intro to that one track, and that one track was actually so good, I feel as the success of it and love of it caused them to make a whole nother EP, which I cover later. D- album. The next one, I'm quite surprised I didn't put this actually lower, because this is bad. This is the album Viva Las Vengeance by Panic at the Disco. D-. If you want to go listen to this fucking album, go listen to it. I literally have no words to say to it other than it is so boring. The label or somebody needs to step in because I just don't see how Panic is as big as they are making the mediocre ass music they make nowadays. Oh my gosh. I can't fathom it. I seriously can't. D-. That is the rest of the D-. We're going to continue. This is the next step higher. A few of these may be a little outdated because these are all my first gut checks on all of them. So the next album, this is going to be getting the D+, is going to be Mainstream Sellout by Machine Gun Kelly. Now, I actually like Machine Gun Kelly's rapping. His rap song on here, and his rapping, actually, his rap music, I think it's actually pretty good. Like Hotel Diablo, I think I gave a B plus or an A minus to, because I think he's actually a really good rapper. But in the world of rock and pop punk, or what he's trying to do here, he just sings way too monotone for my liking. And the instrumentals on here are actually pretty good because they have Travis Barker. You know, you can't really go wrong. That dude's mental. And I don't really know why he doubles down so much on Machine Gun Kelly. I think he has his emotional connection with Machine Gun Kelly a little bit too good. But this album has a fuck ton of people who love it. And I don't want my opinion to dumb down your love for it, because I'm all for new rock artists. And Machine Gun Kelly's one of them. Hope he gets that Grammy. If it's not him, I would want Turnstile, because I just hate all the other ones more. Mainstream Sellout is a D+. The next one is also going to probably cause some metal people. These low ones are going to cause some hate for me regarding the metal establishment, probably. Is going to be Requiem by Korn, right? Korn released a fucking album this year. You also forgot. This album is very forgetful, very boring. If you've listened to the last 2 Korn albums, you've listened to this one. Nothing new, nothing exciting. I don't expect there to be necessarily in the band's fucking 9th album. It's just very forgettable. I gave this a D+. The next one is actually an album. The reason it's on here is because of their previous release. And this one I had actually a lot of hype for, because I loved the singles. I mean, I really like the singles. And this is the album, The Classic Signs of a Broken Spirit by Architects. I adored the singles, but unfortunately, I only adored the singles. They somehow fit all their catchy melodies and everything only into their singles, and it caused me to have a very high excitement level that was just not met. And it caused me to be very let down. I also gave this album a D+, the lowest of Architects albums they have throughout their entire discography, which I do respect them for trying something new. And I'm happy that they're writing music they like. And if they are managed to do it successfully, I'm happy for them. And those older albums aren't going anywhere, so I welcome the sound change. Just the album I wish had better songs on it. The next one's actually a mixtape album kind of thing that got a lot of praise online, surprisingly. I mean, I must be the absolute hipster of all of them, because I thought it was really boring. And their last year's album was my favorite rap album of the year, actually. And I'm talking about I Didn't Mean to Haunt You by Quedeca. Ben is a excellent rapper. I think he's an excellent music creator. And his last 2 albums, Voice Memos and From Me to You, are excellent albums. Absolutely amazing. And to go from them to this is very jarring. I respect all the risks you take. They didn't pan out for me. I find it a little boring. Banger isn't on there, which I was really hoping for, like he has on every album. Like Where'd You Go and The Man on My Left Shoulder, or Thank You Next, or or War. And I think he wanted this to be a little bit more of a concept album, so that's the purpose of it. I give it a D+. These next few, we're going to the C- category. I really don't remember too much about them. I remember listening to them, and they were very boring. First one is going to be Return to Mars by the band Captives. Horrible band name. Horrible band name. I wish the best of this band. I gave it a C-. I don't remember a whole lot about it, so it's probably very forgettable. Hope they do well in their future projects. The next one after that is a band I actually am familiar with, and it's a band I have a lot of love for their previous releases. It's the band Cold Rain with their album Non-Negative. I had a lot of hype going into this. Just was too boring. I felt like they lost a lot of their catchiness between this release and their previous release. I hope their new one, the next one after this, their next chapter, is as good as the one previous to this project. Non-Negative got a C- for me this year. The next album is going to be another album I'm going to get a lot of hate for, and it is the album Immutable by Meshuggah. This shit is very mutable. Fucking C-. It sounds like all the rest of Meshuggah does. I was hoping maybe for some more proggy elements, more poppy elements. This band is literally drips with talent. I don't know how they don't fucking do anything that is not Swedish, whatever genre they are, Swedish prog gent. I just don't get it. C-. Reaching Hypercritical by Palisades is my next one. This is also a C-. I love Palisades. Their last releases, all of it were amazing. I genuinely don't think this band has a bad album other than this one. I was a big fan of Lou, their previous vocalist who departed from the band. I was a big fan of his musical theory and his musical direction and his voice. So going into this one, to have a different vocalist named Brandon, who also has now left the band, I feel as he wasn't on the same level as the rest of the band when it came to making this project. I genuinely think that he brings it down. He doesn't have that voice that makes him stand out. He sounds at point like the vocalist from Skillet, and at other points he sounds like the vocalist of Caskets. It's just a really big letdown. I wish them the best. I hope they get a new vocalist. I was really looking forward to seeing them on that Secrets tour that they're no longer a part of, sadly. The next one is an album I had a lot of excitement for. I was remarkably excited for this album, and I was let down. It is In Loving Memory by Black Bear. I love Black Bear's previous releases. I love him as a pop artist, and when I heard he was doing pop punk after hearing that Demi album, I was remarkably excited. I thought this shit was going to be the next big thing. I thought this was going to be the album that I was going to pick up and be like, wow, this is the new shit. It didn't happen that way. I love how he made it for his father. That's a beautiful story. He's good family. I actually have mutual relatives to his family. Very, very good people. I wish nothing but the best for Matt. This album, unfortunately, got a C-. Little too boring for me. This next one, I literally don't remember anything about. It is Order of Chaos by the band Descent. I gave it a C-. I put a little star next to it. This is the first time I ever listened to them. Boring. It is so forgettable. I can't even give any criticism because I'm pretty sure I actually fell asleep while listening to this album once, and that says something. This Could Have Been a Better Place by the band Sever is up next. Now, this album got a lot of hype on the Twitter metalcore space when it came out. I looked forward to it. I went and checked it out. It didn't really stand apart from what they look like as a band. Kind of sad. I really had high hopes for it. Wish this band the best of luck in their future releases. I gave this a C-. The next one I kind of have the same argument for. The band Snowbleed with their album The Blazing Sun of Fiery Dawn. C- as well. Just riff salad. No hooks, no chorus. Well, I'm pretty sure they have choruses, but they don't have any of those hooks, no catchy choruses. Nothing that allows me to really remember anything about this performance. And I actually checked this next album out right after that one. I remember listening to these albums back to back and not liking either of them. And is The Death Hand by Stircore. Slightly better than the last one. I remember like those two being like the two performances I was kind of comparing, and I liked Stircore slightly more. So if you listen to Snowbleed, you'll probably like Stircore a little bit better. A little bit catchier, a little bit better. The next one is a meme band. This is The Force Awakens by Squirrels with Lightsabers. This is like a Star Wars metalcore band. I have no idea. Funny album. Good concept, not good enough to bring it past a C-. I felt a little disrespectful to bring it any higher than that. I love Corny. I'm a big fan of the Korn. Not the band this year, unfortunately, but I'm a big fan of Corny. This was just slightly too corny for me. I'm also just not a big Star Wars fan. So maybe if you're a big Star Wars fan, you'll fucking love this shit. The next one is an artist that gets a lot of hype on the online space, which I just don't get. I think I'm just missing something. It is Up in the Air Forever by Ocean Grove. I've really listened to this. I've listened to this band since their second album. And I like their second album, but it's just gone downhill since then for me. There's something so weird about this band that just I cannot get into. Maybe it'll click for me. This is an album, if you're a fan of like Enter Shikari or something very weird and out of the norm when it comes to the metalcore space, maybe like Thornhill mixed with Enter Shikari, you will like this. I love the Enter Shikari and Thornhill. This just does not click for me. I don't know what it is. Respect to those guys. I wish them the best. The next one is one of the biggest disappointments I had this year, which I'm going to get a lot of flack for if someone watches this and they're also a music reviewer, because this is an artist who is universally loved. This artist is regarded as literally one of the greatest of all time. This is Mr. Moral and the Big Steppers by Kendrick Lamar. I think this is an album that is an amazing road trip album. If I'm going on a road trip, if I'm driving like 15 hours, I'm throwing this album on. Other than that, though, I don't really have a reason to listen to it when his older material exists. It's a C- because of how high of a standard he had set for himself, and he just was unable to meet it. The next one is going to be Welcome to the Chaos by Fame on Fire. This is also sitting at a C-. Very forgettable other than the opening 2 tracks. I actually like this band's previous album because I liked the, cover band opening. I like how this band is like, we're not just a cover band. We do other shit. And this album just was a little too out there for me, I guess I could say. Very boring. Oh, other than that song with Spencer, it kind of misses the mark in regards to just songwriting. I feel as they kind of blew all their budget on that song, and it just didn't meet that rest of that expectation. I wish them the best, and I'm excited to see future projects. I still have hope for this artist. C-. The next one is the OC Season 3 by Cold Heart. I love Cold Heart's old material. It is really good. I would recommend to go check it out. This album does not keep up with his older stuff. I wish him the best. It's just a little too slow. All the songs kind of sound the same, and this is coming from someone who listens to a lot of fucking metal. A lot of his songs sound the same, not very much variety. I hope he can experiment a little bit more with his future projects, with a little bit more singing and mixing with his own new rap flows and more fresh sounding beats. Maybe he just needs to get a new producer and change up the producer a little bit. I'm not too sure what it is. I would recommend this album to someone who really likes his older material and really likes him in his sound overall. C-. This next one's going to be an EP called Save Yourself by The Villa. The Villa, if you don't know who that is, they are a band that has the vocalist Michael Bond, who previously was of Woe Is Me and now apparently is once again in Woe Is Me because they've reunited, and formerly of Issues. Michael Bond, I always loved his screams, always thought he had a little bit more creativity than it appears he does. This album's very cut and dry butt rock. If you like butt rock, this shit's for you. I gave it a C-. The next one is an album that is remarkably bad. If it wasn't for a few breakdowns I liked throughout the album and a little bit of the catchy hooks that are in the drumming throughout this thing, it would be much lower. And this is the album Cancer Culture by Decapitated. I've listened to Decapitated's previous material, and I thought it was good. Like, I think they're like a B-tier band when it comes to death metal. And this one, it's just a little too boomer. Like, hearing the term cancer culture in 2022 as a Gen Zer, it's a little boomer. Like, I respect these guys for taking a risk. Just, they swung for the fences and missed. Unfortunately, it just wasn't for me. I wish them the best. If you like just straightforward boomer death metal, you like this more than likely. The next one is a collab EP from 21 Savage and Drake. This is Her Loss. I had a few So this album I was really torn on. When I first listened to it, I really liked it. I thought this was one of Drake's best projects. I don't think it was even in top 3 of 21 Savage's, but I really liked it. I thought there's really good bars, really good stuff. Other than the opening song being really bad, I thought a lot of the other tracks were really good. And then I re-listened to it a few times. And man, some of this shit is rough. Those bad songs are bad. I don't know how the fuck 21 Savage signed off on it, because I think overall 21 Savage makes really good music. This was just not it. I don't even know if I wish them the best. This got a C+, and this starts our C+ category. The next one after that was an album I really went into expecting to really love. I was really expecting to love this because it had one of my favorite bands pulling off a style that I really love. And this is Inside My Head by Until I Wake. Now, Until I Wake is a band whose previous album I actually gave an A+ to. I can't remember the name off the top of my head right now, but their debut album or EP or whatever it is an A+ release. It is a post-hardcore masterpiece. There are a lot of catchy melodies, amazing vocal performances from the singer. I think he does the screams too. Very insane. But this one is this is almost like a Genesis in Woe Is Me terms. This is like an album where they take everything and they just make it a little slightly heavier, and they made it a little bit more like horror themed, which I don't think played out for them in their style too well. I actually kind of want to see this band go a little bit softer in a direction where I think they would be a little bit more successful because of how amazing that vocalist's range is, and I don't think it's utilized very well in this project. I gave this a C+ for this year. Sorry. I wish them the best. I'm excited to see what their next shit is. This next one is an album that is very hated online. I thought it was a little overhated. I like it, but I also understand why. It is Darker Still by Parkway Drive. Now, I've listened to Parkway Drive since I was like probably literally like 13 years old. For about 8 years now, I've listened to Parkway Drive. And I love this band. This band has really shaped metalcore and opened the realm of Australia for the rest of the world in terms of metalcore. This band headlines giant fields in Europe, and I think they kind of wrote this album in fan service with those festivals in mind. They wrote a lot of sing-along-y parts, but it has one of the worst songs I've ever heard of the year, and it is the song If a God Can Bleed. If you want to entertain yourself, go listen to that shit. It is so hilariously bad that I can't put words to it, and I don't think any project with that song on it I can rate even remarkably higher than a C+. So, sorry, Parkway. I'm excited to see what you guys do next. The next one is going to be Good Grief by 93 Feet of Smoke. I really like this artist's genre. I don't think there was very many catchy melodies on here that I was looking for. Very long, too, with very mediocre songwriting. I realized this is an album from like 4 years ago that the artist wrote and scrapped and then was on writer's block or something and needed to put something out. So they threw together a lot of songs that just didn't really work out too well. This is a C+ album. If you're a fan of like that sad boy pop punk, desktop pop punk stuff, you'll like this. So, this is now going to be a little section of what I call mid. These next albums, I literally just don't really have too much to talk about. I'm kind of just going to spit out their rating because I just don't remember too much about them, unfortunately. This first one is going to be Gridlock, Reality Spill. This is an EP. I remember listening to this and liking it, but I didn't necessarily love it. It's good, and that's about all I can say about it. It's good. I think I'm just not the right audience for it. I think it's objectively well done. It's just not for me. Respect to the artist, wish them the best, C+. This next one is also an album that got a lot of love online in the metal space. It is the album Pathos by Conjurer. It's like blackened, atmospherical, heavy metal. I can't really talk too much about it because I listened to it, and it is very, very atmospherical. So much to the point to where I forget I'm even listening to an album. It almost sounds like the build-up parts in horror films or the quiet parts in horror films. I don't necessarily know how to explain it. Just not all that interesting to me. I respect this band. If you put this album higher, I understand. It's just personally not for me. I gave this a C+ rating for this year. The next one is going to be a very generic metalcore band called Beneath the Silence with their album Blacklights. If you like Architects Core, this shit's for you. I really don't have that much left other than to say about it. This is very genting in a colored room core, very cookie cutter. Not too many interesting, no big moment on it that I was really looking forward to, like a few other genty metalcore bands that come up later. The C+ for me today. This next one is, I believe, one that I don't remember at all. I literally don't remember listening to this. In Memory of Fading Hearts by the band Underthrow. I gave it a C+. I'm sticking to that rating. More than likely, if I listened to it and it was a C+, there's a reason for it. Wish these guys the best. I don't even have a for fans of. I put one in the editing notes. Now, this next one is an album that is a little bit of a disappointment for me. I love this band. I love everything they do. I especially love their vocalists' features. Their vocalist features are killer, especially throughout my A category. And it is Oh What the Future Holds by Fit for an Autopsy. Now, this is the first really big disappointment I have for this year. I think this band has a lot of potential. I love their sound. I love their older material. But it's just a little too much Gojira-y for me. I don't know how to necessarily explain it, but the sound of Gojira drips from this band. And in their previous projects, it's a little bit more easy to ignore. But this project, it's just all over it. I mean, this is basically a Gojira album, I feel like, with more breakdowns and with Joe Bad on vocals. I don't know what more to say about it. If you liked Gojira like deathcore with the really groove elements to it, which I actually do, it's just I have to have some deviation away from the band Gojira. I gave this a C+, the lowest in their Joe Bad era of this band, which is a big bummer. I was really looking forward to it. The next one is a blackened deathcore album. Get used to it because there's quite a bit of them on this list because that's kind of the new thing in right now. and this is Carnage Funeral by Bone Carver. This album I just listened to. I actually think this is my most recent addition to this list, so it's pretty fresh on my mind. If you liked black and deathcore, things of like Worm Shepherd or Lorna Shore, this shit you'll like. It's heavy, unrelenting, breakdowns, a lot of dinosaur noises, like shit like that. If you like that, fucking go nuts. This is for you. Does not deviate far away from that sound. I do have a little bit more respect for bands that are able to do this sound and keep it a little interesting, like add their little flair to it, like I think Worm Shepherd does, or I think Enterprise Earth does. But this band just fails to do it, unfortunately. I wish them the best. I'm excited to see what they are because they're a very new band. I'm excited to see their newer projects. You know, for all not everyone's debut is going to be a cult classic. This just personally wasn't one to me. I gave this a C+. The next one, these are the first time I'm listening to these next two bands, which I'm going to kind of do in together because I felt the same way about both of them. And it's Antebellum by Fixed Fight and Light Bends by Pridelands. These are very generic, does not stray away far from their sounds. Pridelands with Gentcore, Architects sounding, Polaris sounding, and Antebellum with Fixed Fight with more of like a punk-leaning thing. I respect these bands. Not my thing, unfortunately for both of them. I think I'd say this is like good if you like that kind of sound. It's just not my favorite kind of sound. I gave these a C+. The next one is an album I was surprised liking. When I first heard what this band kind of sounded like, I really didn't think I would like it very much. It's the band Mathan with their album Dark Root Zanza? I'm going to have it right here. You'll read it. This is a project that I never thought I'd like. It's very progressive rock, and this album is actually really good music to sleep to, which I don't think that's their purpose, but it's mine for it, and I, as the consumer, get to choose my purpose for it. I liked it. C+ rating for me. I wish these guys the best, and I hope they release good sleeping music in the future. The next one is a project that I was very excited for, which I got bummed. This is a little bit of a letdown. It is High Wind is the band with their EP Wind Waker. I gave this a C+. This is the musicians from the band Bless the Fall, which I love and I miss. This EP project just did not hit the mark for me. I was very excited to listen to it, and it just didn't really hit the stride that I thought it would. If you like generic metalcore, you will like this. C+. And that tops off the C+ category. The next one is the B-. Obviously, we're climbing up. The first one is a very polarizing album, which I think I have rated higher than a lot of other people, which is the self-titled album from the band Rings of Saturn. This is alien metal, alien death metal, alien deathcore, but they don't have a vocalist. It is now only instrumentals for this project, and it is weird. I'm not going to lie. It was very polarizing. I really like their vocalist sound, and especially in Ulta Ula. That was their last really good album, in my opinion. They released one after that, and I wasn't too impressed with it. This shit, if you're nerdy and you like fucking crazy guitar stuff, like this shit's for you. This EP, though, I actually liked because they had trap beats and new elements of the band, and I thought this was a pretty cool new chapter for Rings of Saturn. I put this on for my girlfriend, who does not like metal, and she said it was actually pretty good. She gets her stamp of approval. Girls always have better taste. It's a B-. The next band is the band Of Virtue with their album Sinner. I thought this was pretty goddamn mid, personally. I'm just not a big fan of this band's sound. We're just kind of in the mid stuff right now, so you're going to get a lot of mid. I wish these guys the best. I hope they do something a little bit more interesting and are able to carve out their own little bit of sound. I gave this a B-. The next thing is the band A Sense of Purpose with their EP All the Grief Was Gone. This is an EP from a project that I actually was looking forward to. I like their lead single. Only song in the EP I like. I wish these guys the best. I hope to see them soon. Again, this is a B- project. The next one, it is Bimbocore Part 2 by Scene Queen. If you like corny, if you like more bimbo, if you like just chaos, this girl fucking screaming how much she does not care about what men think and how much she hates men and how much she wants to bang your girlfriend. This is it. It's very tongue-in-cheek. You kind of have to take it at a face value. More than likely, you will not like this. It's very polarizing. Not very good altogether, but I like it. It's a little bit of like a guilty pleasure. I gave it a B-. I'm excited to see what more she does. Barbie and Ken also is actually a really good song. The vocal performances, the theme, the theory of the actual track I think is actually pretty solid, and it's just that song alone just kind of sold it for me. It's a B- album. The next one is a return album. The first one, I think, on this list, and I was quite surprised by it. I never thought I'd ever live to see this band release another album. It is Otherwise by Alexisonfire, which I actually kind of liked. I mean, it was very long, very atmospherical proggy, which is stuff I do not like. I don't know why musicians mature and make this sound. I don't know if it's for just people that are older or whatever. Very sleepy music. I thought it was okay. It had some really stand-up parts in the vocals, and I don't think there's any necessarily emo cult songs on here, the way that other bands are making now, like the Used or 303 are still making. I say this is probably the best music this band could be making this far into their career. Hope they stick around into another album that I like more. Otherwise, got a B- for me this year. The next one is a metalcore group that kind of carved their sound slightly. It is the band InVisions with the album Deadlock. This album has a lot of love from people online, and if people love it, there's a reason for it. I think if you like breakdowns, if you like kind of the wage war sound of their first album, you like this. I mean, catchy choruses, breakdown, very standard song structure as well. Nothing too out of the box and nothing too crazy. I gave this a B-. I'm probably just going to make this first part to B+ because I got a lot of cover in B- and we're almost there, and then I'll make a second video that is just B+ to A+ because that is where the bulk of the albums I listened to landed this year. I am going to continue. The next one is One Decade is the band with the album Chromostesis, which I thought was pretty cool because I just actually was watching Black Clover before I watched this, and, you know, Julius, never mind. I liked this. I don't really remember too much about it. I remember liking it. I remember putting a lot of these songs in my playlist, which have come on. Other than that, I really don't know too much more past that. B-. I'd say just go check it out for yourself and form your own opinion. This next one is an album that people might hate me on me for a little bit for putting so low because a lot of people fucking love this band, and it is Shadow of Intent Elegy. Elegy by Shadow of Intent somehow just missed the mark for me this year. I'm a giant Halo fan, and I kind of just wish they went back to songs about fucking Halo. I think they're really talented guitarists, very talented vocalists. A lot of their other projects are very good. I like their last 3 albums. This one, just for whatever reason, just fell a little flat in a year full of remarkable deathcore albums. This is a B- release. This next one is the album In Light of Knowledge by Lee McKinney. Lee McKinney is the guitarist for the band Born of Osiris, who also I believe I'm tracking in this year. This is a very proggy, if you like Jason Richardson or Polyphia, you'll like this. It's very guitar riffy. It's pretty good. I think it's good sleeping music, or when I'm really focusing, I throw on just some like really shreddy guitar music. If you're not a fan of shreddy guitar music, this isn't going to be for you. B-. I hope Lee McKinney makes a full recovery. I know he was recently had a traumatic incident where he was in a coma. I wish the best for him and Born of Osiris. That band really never catches a fucking break. Seriously. Whenever I hear them in the news or anything, it's always because something bad happens to them. I wish them the best. This next one is the album Run by Future Palace. Now, this band has a lot of hype online as well. I see a lot of people talking about how this band is insanely good, amazing, remarkable, all these things. And I just kind of missed it up for me. I thought they were good, but like just about average good. This is a proggy post-hardcore project with a really good female front person singing. I think it's solid. I kind of see this as an album where I'm excited to see what they'll do in the future. And I think that's kind of where I stand on it. I give it a B-. The next one is a band who had one of my favorite albums from my childhood, and the band is called Outline in Color. This is The Coast is Clear. This album has so many features on it. It's insane. Like, I don't know how they could afford all these features. I think it's about average good. It's just a solid album. If you like post-hardcore metalcore with a shit ton of features from your favorite bands, this is for you. Their song Quicksand is really good. I think that is the best song on the album. I don't necessarily think too much of the rest of it is very memorable. I do think this band has a really bright future, and they're taking steps in the right direction with the departure of their previous vocalist. I also love their album The Jury of Wolves, which is a kind of an older one. I gave that album an A+ the year it came out. I wasn't really reviewing music back then, but I remember that album pretty clearly. So many bangers on it. Wish these guys the best. I'm excited to see what they do in the future. The next one is Lotus by the band Within Destruction. Now, Within Destruction is a deathcore band, but this isn't really deathcore. This is like metalcore desktop pop punky, which I really respect. I thought they did a really good job on this project. I think this is kind of the best music they could have made. I think their last two albums are much better than this, but I think this is pretty good still. I respect this band. If you like what I kind of described it as, I would go check it out. And yeah, let's go to the next one. The next one is a band that I was really looking forward to. I mean, this is one of the most hyped albums I had for this year, and it kind of fell a little flat for me. I wish I liked it more. This World is Going to Ruin You by Vane FM. This is my first very chuggy, fast, Slipknot-sounding metalcore band I'm having on this list. That isn't fucking Slipknot. I think their first album was an A+ release, Error Zone. I really liked it. I thought this band was going to be the next big thing, but for whatever reason, they just took so long to make the second album. I don't know if it's their record label or whoever. That really shot them in the foot, I believe. I remember when I first heard this band, I was like, holy shit, this band's going to be huge. I was thinking maybe as huge as like Turnstile. It just wasn't the case. This album is good if you like that chuggy, breakdowny metalcore, kind of like the older metalcore style where it's a lot of converge sounding. I respect it. B- for me this year, unfortunately. This next one is Sorry for the Wait by Lil Wayne. I love Wayne. He is my favorite rapper of all time. This, unfortunately, was his worst album, I feel, as in the past few years. I was feeling bad. I was really looking forward to it, and it just didn't hit the mark. No banger. No crazy wordplay. No crazy choruses. No of his shit. He sounded a little fucked up while making this in the studio. Still in the B- because I still think it's good. It just isn't his level of good, in my opinion. This is a B- album. The next one is the band Devil Within Me with their album On the Grind. If you like metal, go check this out. There's not very much more to it. It's good, not great. I'd say good. B- for this one this year. This next one is As Within, So Without. This is sitting at B- with their album Salvation. I think it's a good album. I kind of don't really have much more to say than that, other than it's just kind of mid-good. I wish these guys the best. I'm excited to see what they're doing next year, because I believe they're having another album come out next year. This is almost like a setup to that one, so hopefully I'll be able to check it out. This is like metalcore, things in the realm of what I've said previously about the other metalcore projects. You'll like this one. This next one is an album of an artist that I never expected I'd actually like, and this is 40 Watt Sun's Perfect Light. This is an acoustic rock album along the lines of maybe like Johnny Cash, or in the realm of like old country, where it's very, very emotional. I loved this album. It's the best that I could. I'm not a big fan of this genre, this sound, but I think for this kind of genre and sound, I think this is kind of the best you can do it. I gave this a B- project. If you're a fan of like country rock, I really think you'll like this one. This next one is a progressive metal album by the band And So I Watched You From Afar, their album Jettison. Now, Jettison is a concept album where the last song on the album is the entire album. It's the full score, and I kind of liked that for some reason. I liked being able to put on one song and for it to clobber all the rest of my Spotify statistics in my app. I think this is good. I probably wouldn't recommend it to too many people. I think this one and 40 Watt Sun, I don't think any of them are necessarily better than the other, but I think this project is solid in the regards of just setting out and doing what they wanted to. For, like I said, if you like prog rock, this shit is for you. This next one is Pep by the artist Lights. Now, I love Lights. Lights is on one of my favorite albums of all time, which is There's a Hell, Believe Me, I've Seen It, There's a Heaven, Let's Keep It a Secret by Bring Me the Horizon in 2010. She's now a pop artist, and she is amazing at what she does. This, unfortunately, just isn't up to par at what her other material sounds like and how talented I know she is. I feel as this was a little rushed as a whole overall project, and I think I would rather have her just take her time a little bit more with the future releases she makes. I respect her as an artist. I respect her as a performer, and I respect her as a singer. Just, unfortunately, these songs didn't hold up to her normal standard, which is, I would say, A+, A-, probably right dodging between the two. I gave this a B- this year. Very unfortunate. The next one is an album that also got a lot of love online, and this is the album The Price of Dreaming by Hollowfront. This is their sophomore album as a metalcore band, and this album had a lot of people loving it. A lot of people are probably going to put this on their top 10 this year. I found it a little too generic for my liking. I love their atmospherical sounds and their giant choruses. I do just think that the I do think the screaming in the verses need a little bit work on, but I think overall this is a good band. I would go see them live if they came to my area. I do think I like Loose Threads a little bit more than The Price of Dreaming, and I do kind of wish they made songs that make a little bit more sense. Like, if you actually listen to these lyrics, they're really so metaphorical that they're really about nothing, and I hate that shit. I hate that shit. That's just a really big pet peeve for me. I wish them the best. I gave this album a B- this year. And finally, the last album of this first part of this video, maybe I might even make this 3 parts, is going to be Kings of the New Age by State Champs. State Champs is a pop punk band, and they really haven't been that mentioned in the past few years since their song Secrets in maybe 2015, I think that came out. For them to come out and make an album called Kings of the New Age, I really don't think that's accurate. This album, if you like pop punk, it's pretty cookie cutter pop punk. If you like things to the effect of The Story So Far, that kind of sounds where it's like incel pop punk, I would recommend this to you. You'll like it. Catchy choruses. I really like one of their songs on this with the country artist, or the country sounding song. That shit is banging. The rest of it, not too much, unfortunately. Kind of just sounds like State Champs. I don't think it's good enough to deem them Kings of the New Age. So it just might be my taste. They missed the mark for me this year, unfortunately. And that is going to conclude the first of this however many part series. I honestly feel like I'm going to make this a 3-part series because each one's probably going to be about this lengthy of time, which is probably about 45 minutes-ish. I wish you the best. Thank you for coming and checking it out. This is the overall album listing I have for everything this year. Put your predictions and things I haven't listened to or you think you would like me to check out in the comments. I wish you the best. Have a great night.